This is the Grumpy Baker coming to you from, well, the North Pole. So, today we are going to do cinnamon buns. Cinnamon buns are fun. They can be gooey or they can be dry. Well, let's try to make them gooey. So, first thing you need is 1 cup of warm milk. Not hot, not boiling, just warm. Then 1 tablespoon of yeast. Just put it in, a little more than 1. Just put it in and leave it for a few minutes while you're doing other stuff. I don't know what that would be. Also, the nice thing about cinnamon buns, they're very quick, easy. Well, not so much easy, but quick. And if you do them right, they taste fantastic. You do them wrong, well, then they taste like shit. Well, we can't have everything, can we? They don't call me grumpy because I'm a nice guy. So it only takes a few, not very long for the yeast just to dissolve, which you've already seen 100 times. But with milk, it just dissolves. Okay, so now you can put in, make sure melted butter, 1/3 cup. Same thing, warm, not boiling. And 2 eggs. You try to keep everything at room temperature, okay? Oh, it's starting to snow in the North Pole. You know, you want to make sure everything is at room temperature when you start. It sort of makes it a little easier and the dough doesn't get cold. Now, after that's in, you put in 4.5 cups of flour. Here, we'll clean up a bit. And 1/2 cup of sugar. And about 1 teaspoon of salt. Once you get that in, sort of mix the flour and the sugar together so it's not one. Then you just stir it all in. And stir and stir. It's always fun stirring. So you will stir this till it creates a ball. Now this dough, we're going to have to work a little. Okay, there's not much we can do about getting away from that. Okay. It has to be worked. So once you get all the flour and everything so close together, then what you can do is just dump it out on the table. Just like that. Okay, it doesn't have to be all put together because you're going to put it together now. And then you just take your hands and start working it. You know? It's always fun playing in dough. You know. Don't be afraid to, stretch it. Whatever. Remember that silly putty we used to play with when we were kids? Well, some of you will, some of you won't. But it's just like that. And if your dough is like this, a little sticky, that's good. It should be. Okay? If it's not, it will not... Now, in case your yeast didn't dissolve, Because in milk, it takes a little longer than in warm water. Okay? But don't be afraid of that. You know, you can even put the yeast in dry if you wanted to. It just takes a little longer for it to proof up. So as you can see, I'm just sort of molding it with my hand into a ball. Some of it will stick to you. So if you do this for like 4 or 5 minutes, you'll notice that it will start changing. Okay? See, it's already starting to form into a ball. I mean, into a nice sticky dough. So, just to let you know, this is a new recipe. So if it doesn't turn out well, it'll still taste good. May not turn out, but that goes to show you. Okay, what I make. And how it turns out, it turns out. If it doesn't turn out on camera, that's how you see it. I'm not going to make it 7 times so that you can see a perfect product, all pretty and bullshit. So this is the first time trying it. So once you're done, you can see that the dough is nice and together. Okay? It's one piece of dough. Then all you do is put it back in the bowl, cover it up, and it will proof for at least a half an hour or until it's double in size. It depends on how hot your room is. And up here at the North Pole, it's pretty cold. So it might take about a half an hour or so. Anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes after this has proofed. Thank you. So, the dough has proofed till it's double in size. See, it's twice the size as it was. Now the easy part. Now you don't need to use a rolling pin, but you know, it's up to you. It pushes down. It'll probably grab me the rolling pin. Thank you. Look at that. That was my little elf. That was my little elf passing me the, you know. And you just pin it out. It's easier to pin it. I know you don't need to use a rolling pin. It's just simpler. So then you try to make it rectangle as possible. You know, if it's not, it's not. I mean, geez. We're going to eat them. It's not like you're selling them for mass production. Then it would be a different story. Okay, so you want it at about, 15, 18 inches. I'm sure all women know what 15 or 18 inches looks like, so they shouldn't have any trouble figuring that out. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm just saying. Then, after you've done that, see, that's pretty close to square. Now, would my elf pass me my... So what this is a half a cup of butter. I mean, a third of a cup of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. And all that does is make a nice little paste for you to put down on top of the dough. You don't need to wet the dough or anything. Just like so. Now, The easiest way to spread it is with the old digits. No better way than with the digits. You know, you can use scrapers and rollers and, you know, whatever. But, and it doesn't have to look pretty. You just try to stay off the edges. Okay? So you're just bringing it around the edges. Okay? If you stay off the edges, well, that would be better. But if you don't, you don't. And that's a lot of cinnamon and a lot of sugar. So this is the most tedious part of the whole thing, really. It's making sure it's all smoothed around. Now, if we'll get me something to wash my hands with. No, the rag, wet rag. Thank you. So, the only reason you clean your hands instead of licking them is brown sugar and cinnamon doesn't taste great when it's, you know. Then just stretch it out a bit more this way. Once you got the brown sugar, everything on, try to make it square. Then you're just going to roll it up. Start with a small roll, and then as you continue, you know how to roll. Just tuck it in a bit as you roll it. Okay? So like I said, I haven't made this one before, so the dough looks different. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, just because I've never made it before. So if it doesn't turn out great, well, that goes to show you, not everybody's perfect. I have been baking for many years, probably more than most of you people have been born. So, you don't have to tuck it and pin it, and just make sure it's stretched in, okay? My scraper, please. You can see I'm not very organized. Well, that goes to show you. But how else am I going to afford my elves if I have to do everything myself? Then, all you do is you try to figure out, it cuts between 12 and 15. Okay? So you want to make them about that big. Okay, see that nice cinnamon? Okay, you make them about that big. That's even a little too big. Just like that. And give them a little space. Just round them off. Give them a little space. I put parchment in the bottom. You can grease the whole thing if you want. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I got 12. I could have got more if I had cut them a little smaller. Then you just arrange them so that they're just like so. Pat them down a little, just like so. And this little piece, you can throw him in there too. He won't hurt nothing. Now, this has to proof for about 45 minutes. Okay? And once it's proofed, before we put it in the oven, you take a half a cup of heavy cream. That can be 14% or 35. I like 35. You pour it on, and in the oven it goes. Okay, but we will go over that step again very soon. As soon as we are back, we will go over that step. And so for Thursday, I am going to be making a loaf of bread without any mixers and not even an oven. So you should really look into that, especially if you don't have an oven or you have a very small oven and you want to make a loaf of bread. I'll show you how to make it on top of the stove in a pot. Okay, we'll be right back. So now they have proofed for about 45 minutes, and as you can see, they have doubled in size. They will come up a bit more after. So now you take half a cup of heavy cream, and you just pour it over them like this. Just try to get some on all of them. It doesn't matter, the pan will bake anyway. And now we put them in the oven at, at 375 for about 18 minutes. So we will see how these turn out. And we'll be back to finish the show as soon as these are baked. Thank you. So now they have baked for about 26 to 28 minutes. I know I said 18, but sometimes it takes a little longer. Every oven's different. It's when they look like this and still sizzling, and they're nice golden brown, and see how big they turned out. That's beautiful. Okay. Now I made a peppermint cream cheese frosting. Okay. And my elf seems to think it's the wrong one. Well, too goddamn bad for them. They don't like it. They don't have to eat it. That's the whole point. But I'm sure they'll gobble them up no matter what icing I put on top. So, anyways, I'm not going to put it on because you got to let it cool a little or it'll just melt and dissolve. Um, anyways, so that's it. They're beautiful. And with the parchment paper in there, they won't stick. So you should be able to take the whole thing out when it cools. Okay. Like I said, Thursday, I will put out a bread recipe that you make on top of the stove. And it's very simple, and you don't need an oven, mixer, nothing. All you need is me showing you how to do it. And, well, that's it for the show. And if you like it, please follow. If you don't, well, if I'm not your cup of tea, well, whatever. This is the Grumpy Baker set from the North Pole saying, don't stop loafing around. Or is it stop loafing around? Who knows? It's the North Pole. Anyways, have a nice life and see you Thursday.